Here we go again, talking about what the hell's a budget EDC knife. We didn't really know how to define budget here, but we do own a lot of cheap knives that we really like, so we decided to buy 3 12-packs of our preferred beer, grab a bag full of knives, and work out how many beers each of those knives is worth. We're doing this video along with some other folks in the EDC Collab Group, so if you like this idea for a video, you should go check out other channels from that. To the point, we drank 2 beers before we remembered what we were supposed to be doing, so we start with the 34 beer knife. So you're faced with a choice of supplying a party of about 10 people if they're drinking casually, maybe 4 to 6 if it's not so casual, or buying a knife. You could get the CRKT Razzle. It's a weird one, but technically an EDC since it can fit in your pocket if you don't care too much about having other stuff in that pocket. And if the look and fixed blade nature doesn't bother you too much, there's a lifetime of hard-use cutting packed into the blade. If you're feeling cute, the Vosteed Corgi is worth about the same number of beers. It has a cleaner cut, looks a little bit nicer, fits in your pocket a lot better, and generally makes you feel like a more respectable person. Although that's about 36 beers towards a lost cause for us. When we dropped the numbers down to 6 packs worth, we ended up with the Remington EDC Coping Blade, which is a surprisingly fine-tuned cutter with a decent pocket economy if you're looking at things in terms of blade size to pocket bulk. You could do a lot worse for the number of beers it takes to get a couple of guys rowdy at a wedding. Take 3 beers off and you get the off-grid all-day fixie. Admittedly, it's not a lot of blade for what's a touch over 2 12-packs, but it's also not a lot of weight, which is usually a good thing for neck knives. And the bit of blade that is there has a cut-on-contact kind of edge. It's a thematic bonus that you can also use the finger ring to open bottles. In the range of 3 rows of 7 beers, we get to the time-honored trifecta of budget champions. The Cold Steel Fin Wolf, a robust backlock beast that was the first thing on our minds when we started planning this video because we're suckers for a Scandi grind. The OKC Rat 2, which is a lot lighter and a liner lock, and for most people the only knife that needs to be on this list, except for maybe the Rat 1, which we forgot to pack when we filmed this. And the Essie Zancudo, which is sort of the younger stepbrother of the Rat 2, and stands out here by being a frame block and a little bit cheaper at a mostly even 20 beers on the 12-pack scale. Pick up any of these knives and they should feel worth giving up 1 or 2 sloppy weekends. At a dozen beers, we landed on the K-Bar Dozer. Actually, with our preferred beer, it came out to 14, and at this point we've lost track of whether that's a good thing in this context or not. But let's keep this positive and say the Dozer is worth the 2 extra beers. It's a sturdy backlock with a thin blade, not the most comfortable knife in the world, but good God can it get a lot of work done. It's maybe interesting, but kind of fitting that the cheapest knife we ended up with was the Carbon Blade Oppen L9. It's one of those neat knives we don't carry often because it doesn't have a pocket clip, so we're always surprised when we use it and remember that it's actually a good knife. Even if it's just going to get lost in the junk drawer, it's a pretty easy compromise to getting enough beer to start drinking by yourself, only to have someone turn on the basement light and tell you that maybe you're starting to develop a little bit of a problem. There are a few choice models missing from this list. For example, we really wanted to include the classic SD Swiss Army knife, but those things are tiny and we keep losing them. And that really shouldn't be surprising to anyone who's still watching. Anyway, that's our piece. Thanks for watching. Feel free to comment with your budget recommendations and how much beer you're willing to give up to buy it. And if anyone needs us, we'll be jumping up and down in the recycle bin. See you next time.